Hey everyone, it's Bethel Wagner with Sage Wellness Center. Today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about breathwork. I kind of think of this as breathing 101. So first of all, I want to say there are kind of two sides to breathwork. The first side is what I would call breathing work, where we actually just work on the mechanics of breathing correctly. And then the second side is what I refer to as transformational breath work, where we actually lay down and do a full breath work session with the goal and the intent of releasing stress and stuck emotions and stuck energy, and so that we can process those things in a healthy way. But in order to have a really, truly successful transformational breathwork session, it's really great to first lay a solid foundation by learning how to breathe correctly with correct breathing mechanics. So that's what we're going to cover in this video today. So, I don't know if you've heard this or not, but did you know most people breathe at only about 20% of their capacity? And this means that their bodies are oxygen deprived, and it also means that it's placing their whole nervous system into a chronic stress response. And that's not a great place to be. So we want to train ourselves to breathe correctly so that our nervous system is balanced and so that our system is fully oxygenated and we can reap all of the benefits that come from that. So, what does correct breathing actually look like? We're going to talk about what it isn't first, and then we'll talk about what it looks like and how to do it. So, what correct breathing is not. Most people are breathing in their high chest and breathing very shallowly, and some people are mouth breathing, especially when they sleep. They tend to let their mouth drop open and breathe through their mouth. And there are other people who, for whatever reason, maybe they have allergies or sinus issues or whatever, their nose just always feels stuffy, and so they're always breathing through their mouth. And when we're breathing this way, that is placing our nervous system into a stress response pretty much all the time. So that's what we want to avoid, is this high chest breathing that does not use the diaphragm, and we want to avoid breathing through the mouth all the time as much as possible. So instead of chest breathing, we want to breathe with our diaphragm. So the diaphragm sits under here. You can kind of imagine where it is by feeling the curve of your rib cage here. And when it's relaxed, it's actually kind of sitting up in this dome shape. And then when we breathe in, it comes down like this and is pushing down on these organs down below, which means that our belly has to expand. So if you're breathing with your diaphragm, breathing correctly, you'll feel your belly come out to the front. You'll probably feel some expansion in the side body. And if you're in the correct position, you'll also feel some expansion throughout the back of the torso as well. So it's really three-dimensional, like blowing up a balloon. And then once that part of the abdomen is filled, then the rib cage can start to expand. And you can kind of think of the ribs as opening up this way. They're relaxed here, and then they expand outward, and then they come back. And then finally, at the very end of the breath, you might feel this upper chest, very upper rib cage open up and expand a little bit. One of the other enemies of correct breathing is people's posture. We sit at a desk all day, or we're sitting on a couch or in a recliner or something, and it causes us to slouch like this. And when we're sitting this way, when we're slouched and our shoulders are collapsed and our chest is closed, we cannot take a proper breath. It's really hard for the diaphragm to expand. It's really hard for the rib cage to expand, and this is all closed up. So it's really important, if we're going to breathe correctly, to sit up comfortably straight, no closed shoulders, roll them up and back, let the shoulder blades melt down the back, nice open chest space. And this is the position to be in to get a really nice, correct breath. So we're going to try this. We're going to start by feeling that belly breath. So we're going to make sure we're using the diaphragm, and we'll know that it's working correctly if this lower belly expands. And the reason this is so important is that when we are breathing with our diaphragm, it's massaging the internal organs. It's massaging the heart and the lungs. It's helping to create coherence and a really nice heart rate variability. It's also massaging the spinal column, making sure that the spinal fluid is getting pumped properly through the spinal column up to the brain. It's also massaging the stomach and the intestines and the adrenals and all of these organs that sit below the diaphragm. And last but not least, it's also massaging the vagus nerve, which is really important because that vagus nerve is what determines what kind of a state we're in. Are we in that chronic fight or flight state? Are we clear on the other end where we've collapsed into immobilization and depression? Or are we in that nice balanced state where we feel safe enough to interact with people and be productive, but we also feel safe enough to be at rest and to sleep well? So I'm going to invite you to lay down and try this with me. We are going to start out on our back. I like to keep my knees bent with my feet flat on the floor. And it can help if you place your hands on your belly so you can feel this. You can make kind of a nice triangle shape like this, placing your thumbs at the navel. And as you breathe in, if the belly is expanding, the thumbs will come apart. And then when you exhale, they'll come back together. So let's try it, just breathing and allowing this lower belly to expand first. Let's try one more. Beautiful. And once you have gotten to the point that you feel that you're actually breathing and expanding into that lower belly, we're going to try the next piece. So don't worry so much about the belly now. We're going to try to feel the rib cage and allow it to expand. So it can be helpful if you just kind of gently rest your arms against the rib cage, and we're going to see if it expands. And if the ribs are expanding, the arms are going to kind of open up a little bit. And then finally, we're going to just place a hand on our chest and see if this is able to expand. So again, not worried so much about the belly and the ribs at this point. We're just going to see if the heart space can open up and expand. So when we do finally get the air up here into the upper chest, we want to make sure we're doing that without creating any tension in the neck or the shoulders. It's really common to see people do this or to kind of pull their neck back and create tension. So now we're going to try to put all those pieces together. So we're going to allow the belly to fill, allow the ribs to expand, and finally let the upper chest open up for that last little bit. We want about 70% of the breath to be in this lower belly, and the last 30% will fill up the rib cage and upper chest. So let's give this a try. If at all possible, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. So now let's just sit up for a minute. I also want to make sure to show you from this angle. You want to talk about the optimal breathing window. So sometimes people are trying to take a deep breath. Unfortunately, they take too deep of a breath. They're trying too hard and they create a lot of tension in the shoulders and the neck. So they might go You can see how tight the neck has gotten and the shoulders have come back. And I also ended up reverse breathing. When I was breathing in, I sucked the belly in instead of letting it expand outward. That's the exact opposite of what we want. So we want to keep the shoulders relaxed, the neck relaxed. And as we breathe, if you think of it as a scale of 1 to 10, we're going to breathe until we get to about an 8, just before we start to feel tension. And then on the exhale, we're going to come back and stop at about a number 3. And that also is when you just get back to that nice neutral space and you're not forcing the abdominal muscles to contract and get tight as you try to get rid of the last little bit of air. So, starting from a neutral position. And as you practice this, you may find as you breathe in, it might help to kind of get into a circular motion. You breathe in, kind of coming forward, letting the chest open, and then come back on the exhale. Like so. So it's kind of like a wave. We can think of this bottom part that kind of opens up like a balloon. You can think of that like the shape of a pear. You let the pear fill up, and then it's like the shape of a cone, and the cone is just going to open up in the upper half. Okay? And when we put those two pieces together, we get this beautiful wave. It's belly, ribs, upper chest, and then the breath just kind of feels like it comes up and over on the exhale. So let's lay down and try it that way because it might be a little bit easier. So I like to place one hand on the chest, one hand on the belly so I can feel the wave. So I want about 70% of it down here, and the last 30% is in the upper half. In through the nose and out through the mouth. So this is one of the best ways to practice this. You can do it laying on the floor. You can do it when you are in bed, maybe when you're laying down for the night or right before you get up. I like to just place my feet flat on the floor with my knees bent so that I'm supporting the lower back. And it just allows me to feel the movement of the belly, of the ribs, of the chest. And check in and make sure I'm breathing using that beautiful wave. So there you have it. In breathing 101, using the wave, we have pear, the cone that expands in the upper half, and then we put the two together to create that beautiful wave using our diaphragm so that it's massaging all those internal organs and gently stimulating the vagus nerve, bringing the nervous system into a state of balance, fully oxygenating the cells and the organs and revitalizing the body, re-energizing the body, and providing us with some more mental clarity and helping us to feel more emotionally stable and present. So I hope you will give this a try at home. Practice that belly breathing, practice feeling the rib cage expand, feel the upper chest expand just a little bit, and then tie it all together for that beautiful wave using that optimal breathing window between a 3 and an 8 so that we're not creating tension on either end. And if it's possible, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth, because that is the most calming, relaxing breath pattern that you can use for the nervous system. I hope you enjoyed this video. In the next, I will teach you a few exercises that will help you to soften up and get better flexibility in that fascia and allow better expansion through the rib cage and through the chest, so you can have a greater lung capacity as you breathe.